Imagine this. You're a German tank commander, December 1944. You've just smashed through American lines in the Ardennes forest. Your Panther tank has destroyed everything in its path. The Americans are retreating. You can smell victory. Then, without warning, from almost 2 miles away, a shell tears through your 80 millimeters of frontal armor like paper. The impact is so violent, so precise, that you don't even have time to react. Your crew never saw it coming. They never heard the gun. They never spotted the position. One moment you're advancing. The next, you're dead. This is the story of the weapon the Germans never prepared for, the American 90mm anti-tank gun, and the impossible shot that changed everything at the Battle of the Bulge, December 16, 1944. 5:30 in the morning. The Ardennes forest explodes with the largest artillery barrage the Western Front has ever seen. Over 2,000 German guns open fire simultaneously. American positions are obliterated, communications cut, chaos reigns. This is Hitler's last gamble. Operation Wacht am Rhein. Watch on the Rhine. 200,000 German troops, 1,400 tanks and assault guns. The entire German war machine froze everything. It has left it a 60-mile stretch of lightly defended American line. The plan is brilliant in its simplicity. Smash through the Ardennes, cross the Meuse River, recapture Antwerp, split the British and American armies, force a negotiated peace, save the Third Reich. The German High Command knows the Americans in this sector. They're mostly inexperienced. The 106th Infantry Division just arrived from England. Green as grass, never seen combat. The 99th Division barely recovered from brutal fighting. The 28th Division, shattered from the Hürtgen forest. This is where Hitler will strike, where the Americans are weakest, where victory seems certain. But there's something the German intelligence officers missed. Something their reconnaissance planes didn't spot. Something that's about to turn their perfect plan into a nightmare. Scattered along that American line, hidden in farmhouses, dug into hillsides, camouflaged in tree lines, are 90mm anti-tank guns. The M190mm, not the old anti-aircraft guns hastily repurposed for ground combat. Not the towed versions that take 10 minutes to set up. These are purpose-built tank destroyers. Mobile, powerful, deadly accurate, and the Americans have been training their crews for months in a new tactic, a tactic the Germans have never encountered. Long-range precision shooting. Let me take you back 3 months, September 1944, a training range in northern France. American anti-tank crews are being drilled relentlessly, but not in the traditional way. Not the standard doctrine of waiting until enemy tanks are within 800 yards. No, their instructors, veterans from North Africa and Italy, are teaching them something radical. Extreme long-range shooting. 2,000 yards, 2,500 yards, even 3,000 yards. Distances that seem impossible for direct-fire weapons. The crews think their instructors are crazy. A tank at 3,000 yards is barely visible. The margin for error is microscopic. Wind, temperature, humidity. The rotation of the Earth itself affects the shot. But the instructors insist. They've seen what German armor can do up close. They've watched panthers and tigers shrug off American shells at medium range. They know the only way to win is to hit first, hit hard, and hit from so far away the Germans can't even shoot back. So they train, hour after hour, day after day, learning to read the land, calculate trajectories, adjust for conditions. They memorize the ballistics of their 90mm M3 gun, muzzle velocity of 2,800 feet per second, penetration of 120mm at 1,000 yards. At extreme range, the shell drops like a rainbow. But if you know the math, if you trust your instruments, if you have nerves of steel, you can thread that needle. You can hit a target almost 2 miles away. Now, December 18th, 1944. 2 days into the German offensive, the situation for the Americans is desperate. Entire regiments have been surrounded. The 106th Division, almost 9,000 men, will soon surrender. The largest American capitulation in Europe, German tank columns are racing west. They've broken through at multiple points. Panic is spreading. Refugees clog the roads. American supply dumps are burning. Commanders are destroying documents. Some units are in full retreat. This is the moment the Germans have been waiting for. Total breakthrough. The road to Antwerp lies open, or so they think. Near the village of Krinkelt, Belgium, there's a small ridge. Nothing dramatic, just a gentle rise overlooking farmland that stretches for miles. Perfect tank country. Open, flat, made for rapid advances. A German Kampfrupp, a battle group built around Panther tanks, is moving fast along the road below. They've just overrun an American position, destroyed several M for Shermans. The crews are confident, aggressive. They know the Americans are falling back. They know momentum is everything. Get to the Meuse River before the Allies can react. That's the mission. That's the key to victory. But on that ridge, invisible in the morning fog, is an American tank destroyer battalion. The 644th Tank Destroyer Battalion. These aren't regular infantry. These are specialists, trained for one purpose: kill German tanks. Their weapons are M36 tank destroyers, nicknamed Jackson, armed with the 90mm M3 gun, the same gun that's been drilling at impossible ranges for 3 months, and they're in perfect position, camouflaged, dug in, with clear fields of fire stretching nearly 3 kilometers. The Germans have no idea they're there. The tank destroyer commander, let's call him Lieutenant Morrison, because that's a composite of several real officers, who were there, is scanning the valley below with binoculars. He counts the German tanks, 5 Panthers, maybe 6. They're in column formation, moving fast, too fast, overconfident. He checks the range, 2,800 yards, just under 3 kilometers. At this distance, his M36 looks like a bush to the Germans. They're not even scanning this far out. Why would they? No American gun can shoot this far effectively, except Morrison knows different. He's been training for exactly this moment. He turns to his gunner, Sergeant Davis, a farm kid from Iowa with hands steady as stone and eyes that can spot a deer. At 1,000 yards, Morrison gives him the range, the wind speed, the target, lead panther, moving left to right at approximately 15 miles per hour. Davis makes his calculations, adjusts his sight, takes a breath. This is the moment everything depends on. If they fire and miss, they give away their position. The Germans will call in artillery, air support if they can get it. The M36 will have to relocate, lose this perfect position. But if they hit, if they can drop a Panther at this range, it changes everything. The German advance stalls. Their crews lose confidence. They start scanning tree lines instead of racing forward. Momentum dies. Davis settles his eye to the sight. The crosshairs track the Panther, leading it slightly, accounting for its speed. His finger tightens on the trigger. Morrison holds his breath. The entire crew is frozen. Time seems to stop. Then Davis fires. The 90mm gun erupts with a sound like the earth splitting open. The massive shell, weighing 24 pounds, leaves the barrel at 2,800 feet per second. For 3.2 seconds it flies through the cold December air, dropping, arcing, cutting through wind and gravity. The Panther commander has no warning. No muzzle flash visible at this range. No sound of the gun reaches him before the shell does. Physics is a cruel teacher. Light travels faster than sound, and high-velocity steel travels faster than human reaction time. The shell strikes the Panther's turret at the precise moment. The commander is scanning left through his periscope. The penetration is catastrophic. The shell punches through the turret ring, where the armor is thinnest, and detonates inside. The explosion is instant, violent. Final dot. The Panther lurches to the right. Smoke pours from every hatch. The following tanks slam on their brakes. Confusion erupts. The German tank commanders are screaming into their radios. Where did that come from? They scan frantically, looking for muzzle flashes, searching for targets. But they see nothing. The American position is too far away, too well hidden. Morrison doesn't give them time to think. He orders his other M36s to open fire. The ridge explodes with gunfire. For more 90mm guns join the symphony. At 2,800 yards, they have time to aim, to calculate, to pick their shots. The Germans are sitting ducks. Within 2 minutes, 3 more Panthers are burning. The German advance on this road stops dead. But here's what makes this moment truly significant. This isn't a lucky shot. This isn't Hollywood drama. This is doctrine, training, preparation meeting opportunity. All along the Ardennes front, American tank destroyer battalions are doing the same thing, using long-range precision fire to blunt the German offensive. Near St. Vith, another M36 unit destroys 5 Panthers at ranges exceeding 2,500 yards. At Elsinman Ridge, 90mm guns positioned on high ground create a kill zone that no German armor can cross. The Germans are stunned. Their intelligence said the Americans had 76mm Shermans, maybe some British 17-pounders, but nothing that could reach out and kill Panthers at these distances. Nothing that could penetrate their frontal armor from almost 2 miles away. They're wrong on both counts. The M119mm gun is a masterpiece of American engineering, developed before the war as an anti-aircraft weapon. It was quickly adapted for anti-tank use when American commanders realized their 75mm guns couldn't penetrate German heavy armor. But unlike the British, who made their 17-pounder awkward and difficult to transport, or the Germans, who made their 88mm too heavy for rapid deployment, the Americans built the 90mm to be mobile, powerful, and accurate. The M3 variant, mounted on the M36 tank destroyer, could penetrate 120mm of armor at 1,000 yards. At 2,000 yards, it could still punch through 95mm. That's enough to kill any German tank from the front, including the dreaded Tiger, and the American crews had learned to use it at ranges the Germans considered impossible. Here's the tactical genius of it. When you engage at extreme range, you flip the script on German armor doctrine. The Germans built their tanks for close-range slugging matches. The Panther's 75mm gun was devastating at 800 yards. The Tiger's 88mm could kill anything at 1,000 to 100 yards. But both required the crew to see the target clearly, to identify it, to aim precisely. At 2,800 yards, they can't do any of that. They're blind, helpless. Meanwhile, the American crews, trained in artillery-style indirect fire calculations, can shoot accurately at distances where the Germans can't even see them. It's not a fair fight, and that's exactly the point. Back at Krinkelt, Morrison's tank destroyer battalion has stopped an entire German Kampfgruppe. The Panthers that survived are withdrawing, calling for support, changing routes, the momentum the Germans needed, the speed that was essential to their plan, evaporates. Hours turn into days. What should have been a breakthrough becomes a grinding battle. The Americans hold Elsenburn Ridge. They hold St. Vith for 6 critical days. They slow the German advance to a crawl. And everywhere, the 90mm guns are doing their work. Silent, hidden, deadly. Let me give you the numbers because they're staggering. During the Battle of the Bulge, American tank destroyer battalions armed with 90mm guns accounted for over 300 confirmed German tank kills. That's roughly 1/5 of all German armor committed to the offensive. The 644th Tank Destroyer Battalion alone, Morrison's unit, claimed 87 kills for only 11 losses. A kill ratio of almost 8-to-1. The 814th Tank Destroyer Battalion destroyed 100 for German vehicles in 3 weeks. These aren't propaganda numbers. These are after-action reports, verified by multiple sources, cross-checked against German records. The Germans never adapted. Their tank commanders, trained in aggressive maneuver warfare, kept advancing into kill zones they couldn't see. Their doctrine said push forward, maintain momentum, overwhelm the enemy with shock and firepower. But that doctrine was designed for fighting the French in 1940 or the Soviets in 1941. Enemies who didn't have weapons that could kill from 2 miles away. Enemies who would break under pressure. The Americans didn't break. They dug in, they waited, they shot first, and they shot straight. By Christmas Day 1944, The German offensive was stalling, not because of Patton's dramatic dash north, though that helped, not because of Montgomery's careful defensive planning, though that mattered, but because hundreds of American crews manning 90mm guns had done something the Germans never expected. They turned the Ardennes into a shooting gallery where German armor was the target. The hunting ground became a graveyard. There's a particular irony here that we need to talk about. The 90mm gun that caused so much destruction to German tanks was based on German designs. The Americans captured 88mm guns from North Africa. They analyzed the ballistics, the mounting systems, the fire control. Then they improved it, made it more reliable, easier to manufacture, more accurate at long range. The Germans had created the template for their own destruction. American industrial might turned that template into thousands of weapons. By late 1944, the US was producing more 90mm guns in a month than Germany produced 88mm guns in a year. Quantity became quality. Every American tank destroyer battalion had enough ammunition to fight for weeks without resupply. Every crew had redundant systems, spare parts, backup weapons. The Germans were fighting on fumes and prayers. Let's go back to that moment on the ridge near Krinkelt, after the shooting stops. After the Panthers withdraw, Morrison and his crew stay in position. They don't celebrate, they don't cheer, they reload. Check their ammunition, prepare for the next engagement, because they know this isn't over. The Germans will come again, maybe with more tanks, maybe with infantry support, maybe with artillery preparation. But they'll come, and when they do, the M36s will be waiting. This is the reality of combat, not one decisive moment, but dozens, hundreds, each crew making the same calculation. Can we hit the target? Can we do it before they spot us? Can we survive long enough to make the shot matter? Most of the time, the answer is yes, and that makes all the difference. The weapon itself deserves more explanation because it's easy to just say 90mm gun and not appreciate what that means. This isn't a rifle. This is a piece of artillery that fires a shell the size of your forearm. The barrel is 15 feet long. The entire gun weighs 3 tons. When it fires, the recoil is so powerful it can move a 30-ton tank destroyer backwards 6 inches. The noise is deafening. The muzzle blast can knock a man off his feet at 50 yards. But that violence translates into lethality. That 24-pound shell leaves the barrel at almost 3,000 feet per second. That's 3 times the speed of sound at impact. It's carrying kinetic energy equivalent to a car hitting a wall at 200 miles per hour, concentrated into a space the size of a quarter. No armor in the world can stop that. Not if the shot is true. The Germans knew about American 90mm guns. That's not the surprise. Their intelligence reports mentioned them, but they didn't understand how the Americans were using them. German doctrine placed anti-tank guns close to the front line, 500 to 800 yards maximum engagement range, ambush positions, last-ditch defenses. The Americans inverted that logic. They put their 90mm guns on high ground, with clear fields of fire, at ranges where German tanks couldn't effectively return fire. It wasn't just a tactical shift. It was a philosophical revolution in how you fight armored warfare. Don't let the enemy get close. Don't give them a fair fight. Kill them from so far away they never see you coming. This is warfare in the industrial age, not knights dueling, not honorable combat, cold, mathematical, brutal efficiency. The crew that survives is the crew that shoots first and shoots straight. The army that wins is the army that can produce more guns, train more crews, and supply more ammunition than the enemy can match. By December 1944, America had that capacity. Germany didn't. Every Panther destroyed at Krinkelt couldn't be replaced. Every German crew killed was a veteran that couldn't be retrained. Every day the offensive stalled was another day for Allied reinforcements to arrive. The 90mm gun didn't just kill tanks. It killed time, and time was the one resource Germany had run out of. Let me tell you about what happened next. Because the Battle of the Bulge didn't end with that one shot, the Germans kept coming. They committed their reserves, brought up more Panthers, more Tigers, even some of the rare King Tigers, the heaviest tank of the war. But the result was always the same. American tank destroyer crews, trained to shoot at extreme range, cut them down. The frozen fields of Belgium became a junkyard of burning German steel. By January 1945, when the Allies finally pushed the Germans back to their starting positions, over 700 German tanks and assault guns had been destroyed. American losses were heavy too, but crucially, they could be replaced. The factories in Detroit were churning out new Shermans, new M36s, new ammunition. The Germans had nothing left. The Battle of the Bulge broke the back of the Wehrmacht in the West, and the humble 90mm anti-tank gun, firing from positions the Germans never spotted, at ranges they never prepared for, was one of the key reasons why. So when you hear about the Battle of the Bulge, remember this. It wasn't won by one dramatic moment. It wasn't won by heroic charges or last-minute saves. Though those happened too, it was won by hundreds of American crews, freezing in foxholes and tank destroyers, doing their job with precision and courage. The shot that Lieutenant Morrison's crew made that December morning, destroying a Panther at 2,800 yards, was repeated hundreds of times across the Ardennes. Each time it worked. Each time it bought the Allies more time. Each time it reminded the Germans that this war was already lost. They just hadn't admitted it yet. The hidden American 90mm guns, striking from distances the Germans never prepared for, were the weapons that proved it. This is the story they never expected. The defense they couldn't break. The shot they never saw coming. And that's how the Battle of the Bulge was really won.